Hello, I'm Ben of Board Game Schoolhouse, and this is Elementary, where you can learn how to get the most out of family board game night. Today, we're talking about Concept Kids Animals.
I love animals. That's why I like to kill them.
Concept Kids Animals is a cooperative 2 to 12 player deduction game best suited for 4 to 12-year-olds. This is an outstanding game for any kid who loves animals. It lets them show what they already know about animals and build new knowledge, as well as practice describing and categorizing attributes. But we'll get to all that later. For now, let's make sure we're all familiar with the game. The premise of the game is this. One or more of the kids playing the game are going to take turns giving clues about the attributes of an animal that they're trying to get the rest of the players to guess. On each clue giver's turn, they place one of the orange squares on a clue that matches an attribute belonging to the animal that they're trying to get the rest of the players to guess. The players who are doing the guessing can make guesses at any time, but the clue givers can only respond yes or no. They can't say why the guess is incorrect. But the focus of Elementary isn't to summarize the rulebook. It's to talk to you about how to maximize the experience of board games for kids. So let's get started with that right now. You know that sweet dopamine hit you get from knowing the correct response in Jeopardy or at trivia night back when we left our homes to do such things? This game lets kids feel that way about their knowledge of animals. Now that might seem at first like something that isn't that big of a deal, but remember, for a kid, it isn't that often that they get to feel like the expert at the table.
You're saying I'm an expert?
And because it might be one of the first times that they have that feeling, we want to plan ahead about shaping the experience for them. For me, I like to use this board game as an opportunity to normalize how to celebrate what you know or what you don't yet know about something. One of the most important lessons any kid can learn is that it's normal to not know everything about something, and tangentially that it's exciting to learn new things. Before playing, I suggest you say something like this to the clue givers. I'm really excited to find out what you know about animals. I know none of us knows everything about animals, so don't be surprised or upset if you've given all the clues that you can and we still aren't able to guess it. I bet that all of us can learn lots of new things about animals while we play this together. So, you're playing the game, kids are giving clues, and you have no idea what animal they're trying to get you to guess. This is going to happen to you, especially when playing with younger kids who have less knowledge about animals or who are giving sometimes even false clues or clues about things that don't stand out to an animal about you but are standing out to the animal for them. If you're in this situation, I suggest you wonder aloud about the missing information you think you need. For example, you might say something like, I know the animal has fur and is brown, but I'm wondering how many legs it walks on. Now, I would only recommend doing this when kids are really struggling to give clues, by the way. They're the ones who are the stars of the show, and they're driving the pace of the game, and we don't want to take that away from them when we're playing. Let them feel empowered by choosing the clues and only resort to this sort of hinting when they are really stuck in the mud. As a side note, it might be a good idea to establish an adult expert who the kids can consult if they really are lacking information about the animal they've drawn, or worse yet, they don't even know the name of the animal that they've drawn. This can be a real lifeline for kids to help them feel safe and confident when playing the game. Even with these safety nets in place to help kids give good hints, there will definitely be times when the clue guessers are unable to figure out what the animal is. When this happens, it's important to frame it in a constructive way.
I give up.
You might say, well, shoot, I see a lot of great clues, but I'm just not sure what the animal is. Let's look at the card together and see if we can learn some new things for next time. Then when you're going over the card together, you can sandwich some suggestions in between compliments. The suggestions can be about clues that were misleading or clues that were lacking and could be given in the future. It's probably easier to give suggestions about missing clues rather than misleading ones. For example, kids aren't going to get their feelings hurt if you say something like, oh, a fun fact about tigers is that they eat mostly just meat. But correcting a misleading clue might be more delicate. If a misleading clue is given, I like to always ask the kid what their thinking was about the clue. Oh, I see you said penguins fly to move around. Can you tell me about that? This should help start a conversation about the thinking, which you can then validate and then correct, assuming that it was incorrect thinking. Oh, you were thinking that because penguins have wings, they must fly. But actually, some birds are flightless. Penguins are known for waddling and sliding down hills and being excellent swimmers. In any case, the best thing about this game is using it to empower kids about the things that they know. So keep that energy up no matter what you do.
Feel the power.
Just in case you don't know, gatekeeping is a toxic behavior in which insecure jerks put other people down for not knowing things. If you've ever heard someone say, "Oh my gosh, you didn't know," or "Oh, if you were a real fan then you've been exposed to gatekeeping. To be clear, it is a disgusting behavior and it can be curbed early on in kids if you model intentionally how to behave when someone doesn't know something yet. To do this, you need to show how exciting it is to learn new things. Instead of just celebrating what is already known, shift your focus to celebrating when something is learned. For example, let's imagine that you aren't able to guess what the animal is and the clue givers are able to actually teach you something new about the animal that you didn't previously know. You need to make a big deal about how excited you are to learn that new fact. Mama alligators protect their egg nests for months and then carry their young around in their mouths and watch over them for up to a year? I had no idea. That's amazing. I love learning new things. Additionally, if you ever hear somebody say something that would make someone feel particularly bad for not knowing something at the table, you need to address it right away. Remember, you don't need to shame them or anything like that. You're just trying to change what the expected normal behavior is when responding to somebody not knowing something yet. You might simply say, "I think the way that you just reacted might make somebody else feel bad for not knowing something. Remember that nobody knows everything, and it's good to learn new things." One last tip I have for you is to use observational language when playing board games with kids. Observational language is when you just say aloud what you see people doing. For example, you might say something like, "Oh, I see you had a big smile on your face when I finally guessed the right animal." Or, "Oh, I noticed you were thinking really hard before you gave that last clue." And as a side note, using observational language with kids is a good idea pretty much all the time, not just when playing board games. And that's how you make the most of playing Concept Kids Animals with kids. If you'd like to watch a sample gameplay with a real-life human child, there's a link around here somewhere for that. And if you're someone who gets nervous about explaining board game rules to other people, there's a how to play video that you can watch with the kids before playing. If you liked the video, please prove it and subscribe if you're into that sort of thing. I'm Ben of Board Game Schoolhouse, and this has been Elementary Concept Kids Animals.